One of the biggest games of 2024 has gone on to be confirmed to be one of the biggest IPs for Sony, full stop, in 2025. Stellar Blade becomes Sony's biggest PlayStation exclusive IP debut on PC, yet despite media-generated controversy, because yeah, if you remember, and I'm wondering, right, like if it wasn't for all of those stupid Access Media articles hyping up this game, would it have ever reached those lofty heights? I'm kind of thinking, because there's this horror game that has been, I know nothing about it, I think it's called Horses or something. I'm pretty sure it's called Horses. It has been banned on Steam, it was banned on the Epic Game Store, and now it's the best-selling game on Good Old Games. So yeah, had it just been some indie title come out, it probably would have came and went, sold a couple hundred copies, and then just, faded away, and hopefully the developer could just move on to their next project. But it's so funny how, Stellar Blade ended up becoming this culture war talking point, when the game itself, like, even the developers are like, yeah, don't worry guys, the next time we get a kick at this can, we might actually put a story on the bitch. But it was ostensibly and exclusively sold on one feature, and that one feature put it right to the top, I guess. So yeah, let's take a look at these numbers, because they're pretty staggering, actually. Stellar Blade, the popular and controversial 2024 action-adventure game, recently made the jump from PS5 to PC and has shattered records. A chart from the game's developer shift up shows that Stellar Blade reached 192,000 peak concurrent players on Steam at launch. Yes, talked about that when it happened earlier this year. That makes it more than 2.5 times more popular than runner-up Ghost of Tsushima. Yes, which it's got its PC port, what was that, last year? So that was with a 4-year gap, okay, which had 77,000 concurrent players at launch. God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, and The Last of Us round out the top 5 single-player games that have been available on PS5 and now made the jump to PC. But yeah, we can take a look at the chart specifically because, well, it's pretty nice, okay, to get a visual representation of what we have right here. And yeah, there you have Ghost of Tsushima at 77, God of War at 73, Spooderman at 66, Horizon Zero Dawn at 50. 7 and 37 for The Last of Us Part 1. Last of Us Part 2, nowhere to be found, huh? That's interesting. But then, of course, Gunnar Blade, 192,000, because everybody was modding the fuck out of it. So yeah, once again, hey, I'm not mad. I'm happy people found a game that they like. PC gamers are clearly pleased, though Stellar Blade, or though Stellar Blade, or perhaps more accurately Eve, the protagonist, has been highly criticized. And yes, this is the entire reason, at least in my opinion, that the game was so damn popular. Stellar Blade is a third-person game where players take on the role of Eve, a solider and a last survivor of her squad. Even before the game is released, Eve's design became a point of contention at the State of Play event. Shift Up released a gameplay trailer that showed off the character's highly sexualized design. The sexy female protagonist is nothing new in video games. Yeah, remember Lara Croft. But don't worry, guys, because now she's in the hands of Amazon, and they have big aspirations for Sophie Turner as Lara Croft. Is everybody excited for that TV show? Jesus Christ. Some games journalists found Eve to be regressive. Game director Hyung Tae Kim added the controversy in an interview with Games Radar. Speaking through a translator, he said, "When it comes to the design, we put special attention on the back of the character because the player is always facing the back of the character when they're playing. I mean, know your audience and know your game models. That's what they see the most of, so we thought that it was pretty important." Those remarks come across creepier than intended. Yeah, exactly. But when Stellar Blade was given a content rating by the SRB, it made it even more it was given an even more clinical analysis. It was rated M for mature, noting blood and gore, language, suggestive themes, and violence. The SRB went on to add, the game depicts some female characters in revealing costumes, deep cleavage, skin-tight, and flesh-toned bodysuits. All of those are, in fact, quite accurate, okay? That isn't pearl clutching, that isn't a snowflake behavior, that's just exactly what the game went on to represent. So Day One patch altered some of its costumes. Oh yeah, right, that was when I jumped off the Stellar Blade train, because I was, all for the game, because it was disrupting the conversation. It was looking to be an effective wedge in the door to try to get some normalcy back into gaming. But then when the developers were like, no, actually, these are the original designs, and you guys just need to stop focusing on all this stuff. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So if the developers don't care about their games being censored, why should I give a fuck? But yes, they altered some costumes, some violence, and a piece of graffiti, seen in the game that makes in an attempt to make it less offensive. Oh god, it was so funny, I forget specifically what it was, but Shift Up claimed that this was how Stellar Blade was always intended to look at launch, though many suspected it was pressure from Sony that forced the changes. Many felt that there was a form of censorship, resulting in social media campaigns led by Grums, yes, of course, to revert Stellar Blade to its original look. Still, all this was only the concern for PS5 gamers, and when the PC restraints were finally kicked off, yeah, you would wish that it was only just some graffiti and a couple of body suits instead of just all naked Eve, running around cutting things up with big giant fucking dildos. I would imagine. I haven't looked at any of the mods because I'm never buying this fucking game. While much of the online discourse is centered around humorous and crass remarks, most people seem happy to play the game for the game. Yeah, man, the PS5 version has an 81 on Metacritic, and the PC port has an 84 as well. So yeah, that's, well, if you take it on the sliding scale that, video games always get, that's a fine game, okay? If you consider 7 to be acceptable, 8 would be good. Not exceptional, not something that's going to be remembered throughout history. It's a fine game. But because of all of the controversy around it, because of all of the conversations that were had for the vast majority of 2024, and how well received the PC port was, well, a sequel is in development for the PS5 and PC, with the possibility of a port to the Switch 2 at some point, which is, yeah, where we can hop onto the train, knowing that, well, there's going to be more conversations about Eve. Let's just see how effective they're going to be, and what direction Shift Up, who is shown to be quite chummy with Naughty Dog, who has no problem letting Sony and some of their more Western influences through the door, how that's ultimately going to affect a sequel outing. And so Stellar Blade 2 is going multi-platform, kind of like everything with Sony, because even if it is just one of their first-party titles, in very short order, you're going to be getting a PC port. Now, with the Game Awards coming out next week, I think it's somewhat likely that we get an announcement that Ghost of Yotei is probably going to be getting a PC port next year. I would be shocked if it isn't on PC by next year, even if there isn't an announcement at the Game Awards. But yeah, there's like a handful of PS5 titles that don't have a PC port. None immediately come to mind, but I'm just trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. And when it comes to Xbox, they have been releasing day and date on PC for, well, the entirety of the series cycle of consoles. And I think even earlier, going back to the Xbox One, not the one, but you know what I mean. Stupid Xbox naming convention. So glad that they're going to be out of the hardware market in very short order. But yes, well, Shift Up Studios, or Shift Up Games, is technically a second-party Sony studio. Their relationship, well, it might not be as tight as some people would like. According to a new recruitment post, Shift Up is planning to make Stellar Blade 2 multi-platform. Furthermore, it may hint at Stellar Blade coming to Xbox and Nintendo. If you haven't played Stellar Blade, you've definitely heard of it. Releasing in 2024, the Korean-made title by Shift Up made headlines for its insane graphics and action gameplay. Yeah, sure. It's mediocre gameplay. But yes, definitely for its quote-unquote graphics. Despite controversy regarding its protagonist, Eve, stirred in all stages of development. The game is a huge success, critically and fan-wise. It was nominated for several awards, including some Game Awards, and especially for its soundtrack. God, I hated the soundtrack. Fucking for the little gameplay that I heard, it was all that fucking stupid techno yodel over the top of it. Garbage. Due to the huge positivity, the company was quick to say more on the way, or more is on the way, rather, even going so far as to say that before 2027 you'll get your hands on the sequel. Now, a new development has been revealed, and it's one that bodes well for the sequel's future. News comes from a recruitment post on Shift Up's official Korean website. In it, the studio states that it is looking to build out its team for Stellar Blade 2. The title is said to be currently in development and plans to bring the epic action fans loved from the original for next gen. Interesting. On that note, Shift Up is aiming to have Stellar Blade 2 launch be multi-platform, expanding to other consoles and PC. Interestingly enough, the original Stellar Blade was a PS5 exclusive, only seeing a PC release earlier this year. As of now, no port of the title has been announced for Xbox Series consoles or the Switch 2. One has been rumored for a bit, though nothing concrete has been said yet. We could be getting that announcement next week. I don't know. With Stellar Blade 2 now going multi-platform. Perhaps this means we could see Stellar Blade break exclusivity and go to Xbox and Nintendo soon, which is kind of like what's happening with everything in the games industry, because consoles, well, they're just more or less capable static bricks that people are generally moving away from. If some of the leaks around what is going to theoretically be the next Xbox are to be believed, they're going and leaning very, very hard into the high-end PC market when it comes to technology. And with the Steam machine, is that what we're calling it? The Steam box, Valve's new console coming out next year. Console exclusives have never been less relevant, and if Nintendo continues to make their exclusives the one console, the one studio that is adhering to that old practice, if they continue to pump out exclusives like a Metroid Prime 4, well, they could be going multi-platform any day now. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Coswell. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.